you're a huge sports fan.
Yeah.
You grew up here.
Yeah, born and raised.
You clearly have an affinity for the state.
Yep.
So, it's interesting. I was thinking about your business, and like the first time I heard of it, it's been years since I've heard of your business. And I think what you tapped into, it's like immediate loyalty that people feel for their hometown.
Yep.
And that was you just directly tapped into that already. And so like for a guy like me who saw that, like because I'm from here, Steve's from here, like I see that, I'm like, oh dude, that's my state. That's cool. Immediately. Like obviously you do additional branding, but that is such an immediate connection.
Yeah, I mean, it's as authentic as grassroots as we come, right? In Chandler, and it used to upset me that going to Cardinal games at Sun Devil Stadium, or like talking to friends that are getting ready to graduate high school and they're going to go explore opportunities outside the state, or you see most of the opposing fans. I'm like, what the hell is where's our sense of pride? And it's really the perception is Arizona is so fair weather and all that, but we're just a young state. Right. Now you see, I mean, we were talking earlier how much this state is blowing up, and I thought it was like kind of a land of the opportunities, right? Yeah. Where it's like you have that advantage. But yeah, it was just like, there wasn't any swag that was representing AZ, in my opinion, like a positive, fashionable way. It was like the corny 3 for $10 Walgreens shirts, and I'm like, we're better than that. Yeah. So yeah, we got lucky, created the name, and here we are today.
It's just such a brilliant thing for people in Arizona who, like our age, I would assume, who grew up here. Not, people. Our parents didn't grow up here.
Yeah,
like none of our parents grew up
from
here.
New York, so
yeah. And so, but we're like the first generation in Arizona, where there's a big population in Arizona, and there is a sense of pride for the place you come from. You mentioned like going to the football games or whatever. I remember we used to go to the football games and like half the stadium's full of the other team. Yeah. I'm so frustrating. I'm so angry because I'm like, why is this is my state? This is my place. Like, why? I had such a competitive, so competitive.
And you still get that here and there, right? Just because so many people actually want to. They come from other states and then they want to live in Arizona, which I think is a beautiful thing. But yeah, right. the sports can be a little tough sometimes. But yeah, it's just so cool to see kids like growing up as D-backs fans, Suns fans, and just the economy's growing, and Arizona's I'm biased, but a great place to live and work.
Yeah. So you've lived your in Arizona your whole life.
Yep.
When did you start the business?
So 2013 was when we officially had our trademark approved. And I take a lot of pride in we're the OGs of State 48 because we're the first company to ever trademark State 48. Now there's 90 plus organizations in Arizona with different, a lot of people mix us up with the brewery or people will call us and say, hey, you didn't show up to fix our roof for State 48 Roofing. And, we always just joke and make the best out of it. But yeah, we're the first company to ever trademark State 48 in Arizona. Started the best thing, probably smartest thing we ever did was invest our $1,500 collectively between my two business partners and friends at the time, and we invested that into our trademark and waited almost a year for that to get finalized. And then we were slanging shirts out of our house and on Mill Avenue and anywhere they would allow us to sell, and it was just our main logo and just in every color combination. It's just like getting the word out, and you just felt like that love and appreciation of like, hey, this is something I'm proud of. And it's like, cool, I can get behind this. I love the name. I love the logo. I love what we stand for. And that's what we take a lot of pride in even today, is like having that reputation that like there's no politics behind our organization. There's no like, hidden messages. Like we just love on people.
The apparel business, man, that's gotta be brutal. I mean, obviously the smart thing was you guys came up with that immediate connection with the State 48, but tell us a little bit about the apparel business. It's got to be tough. There's got to be so many competitors and people from, different countries ripping you off. I mean, just give us a lay of the land.
Yeah, I'd say especially now more than ever. I mean, so much more people are actually focused on how they dress and invest in that discretionary income into I say swag. But early on, it was much easier because we were kind of those front runners in Arizona of like having a good quality, comfortable tee that just, you know, shows off your state. There's so many challenges of retail, especially for our brand, is like being a niche brand that, you know, it's just promoting in Arizona. Of course, we have supporters outside the state, but they have ties to Arizona. So that's challenging. But we always have to give people a reason to buy another, you know, T-shirt that represents their hometown. So we have some ideas to kind of, you know, brand. I have some ideas to kind of refresh the brand that allows us to explore opportunities outside the state by still staying true to who we are. But with 4 retail locations, that's very challenging of like getting people, you know, off their butts to like want to come in, and we got to give them a reason to, right? Yeah. So we value every dollar that's spent with us, but retail, you know, there's just so much competition, even if it isn't like Arizona Pacific, like there's just so much brands popping up here. You guys all see it.
You can only buy so many shirts, and you know, like who are you going to buy?
Yeah.
You know?
And I'm like the perfect customer for any brand because I always buy too much shirts and hats and things. Yeah. But I get it. Like you don't need a closet full of State 48 shirts. So collaborations has been a significant piece of our organization. It's really what sets us apart from a typical retail brand because we do a lot of B2B side, and we've really transitioned to like a one-stop shop for all apparel and design. So we offer like screen printing services, embroidery services for other organizations, design services, and then we do the co-branded stuff, which is like our #1 revenue stream, and then the 4 retail locations because that's the heartbeat of who our company is. So that's always going to be important to us because we really truly care about providing experiences. But yeah, retail, I mean, we could talk for days of like all the challenges there and making sure, like, you know, we have such a diverse audience. Hey, are we accommodating we struggle with, you know, making sure all women can buy our shirts. Like, do they want V-necks? Do they want tank tops? Like, it's everyone has different styles and preferences. So yeah, it's a challenge for sure.
Yeah. Well, you know, making a jump from T-shirts, you know, maybe selling out of a small shop, maybe even your home, to retail stores there's got to be a stressful transition.
Yeah. And
then you have employees, and you have 4 locations, so you have rent in 4 different places, maybe more. You probably have a distribution center or something like that. So tell us a little bit about like what's it like to open like a retail store?
Yeah, it was a lot of learning, right? And the cool thing is now we kind of have that dialed in, almost like a rinse and repeat model, that we have a professional fixture company we worked with for the last 2. So beautiful stores. You know, the first one was we started in Chandler in a commercial business plaza that we're still in today. It was 1,100 square feet. You know, it was a mixture of like retail, workspace, office, right? People would come in. That's how we realized there was a demand for retail. Then we're like, okay, this is successful. Let's, you know, upgrade to a larger location up in the front of the complex, and then it was like half retail, half workspace, and then we added our headquarters. So we've always been smart about like not trying to do too much and really like, hey, let the people tell us like if there's demand there. And then we opened our second location in downtown Phoenix at the Churchill, which is unique because it's 10 local businesses that have shipping containers, and we already had a container, so that was a scary leap.
Wait, say that again. What about the shipping containers?
Yeah, so the Churchill in downtown Phoenix, it's 10 local businesses, all at a shipping containers. So
like the physical structure is a shipping container?
Yeah, so it's not fully enclosed. It's every location inside the Churchill is a container. Wow. So the cool thing is I won't bore you with all the details, but we were part of this reality TV show that it was blue collar backers and friends of ours and architects, like they built this container, and we were on this, you know, the show and everything, but then the goal of it was to bring around to the valley and like, you know, just pop up at different events, and like quickly realized the logistics were a freaking nightmare to transport it and got expensive. So buddies of mine that started the Churchill, they asked us if we'd be there, and it was like perfect. You know, it was a little like hesitant at first just because like, do we really want to get into retail? But that's been great. And then we opened downtown Gilbert. We learned that, hey, that's probably too big of a space that we have, but beautiful location. And then we just, you know, last year opened up in Norterra, I-17 Happy Valley. So we want to always be across the state. We want to control those experiences. But yeah, it was definitely some learnings. I mean, it just requires so many great humans to be a part of it. And you know, retail is not our #1, you know, revenue stream. So it's just that balance of figuring out what's going to give people a reason to get in the stores and make it profitable and all that.
So does the decision to make retail stores or create a retail store, was that really due to trying to control what people felt about the brand? Or was
I wouldn't say, great question. I wouldn't say it was anything about control. And also I'd say, I spent 15 years in the hotel industry. Like, I have business experience, but I don't have a formal like business plan to be like, hey, we're going to open this store. We just kind of go with the flow. And obviously we've learned a lot along the way. And now we have a fractional CFO group that really like, hey, here's some really good strategy involved. But I would say it's more of just like, hey, this is working here, this is working here. Let's if there's this great opportunity, let's go for it. But then you quickly realize how expensive it is, build out costs are,
Sure.
and just like, employee benefits and all that just really kind of comes, full circle, like more than ever now. So it's just like, now I've kind of pumped the brakes on like, and it's a blessing and a curse. You want to go, but it's like, now it's like, hey, let's make the business better.
Yeah.
And then let's see if it makes sense to ever open up retail locations. So it's kind of like trial and error, but also like really trying to focus on just growing, because we are such a niche brand in Arizona. But that top line doesn't always mean, anything
Right.
if you're not bringing in profitability.
Right.
So
I think it's one of the hardest things about being an entrepreneur or business owner is knowing when to just stop, pump the brakes, right? Because I think you get into it because you have this drive and passion and you're a go-getter. And sometimes you just need to stop. You just need to stop because you can run out of money. It's a lot easier to spend money than it is to make money.
Amen. Yeah, you can only run out of money once, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's been cool to actually grow up, mature, and learn more, and have people around you that really know what the hell they're doing too. Where it's like, I know where my strengths are more than ever, and I know where my weaknesses are. And for so long I'd be like, grow top line, and I'm proud. Every year we've grown year over year, but again, it just brings some top line doesn't always result more to improve profitability, and it also results into a lot more stress. And it's like, hey, we only have one life to live. Like, does it really, make sense to just like freaking be burning the midnight oil 7 days a week? Like, that's how I'm built, and that's how I always do it. But like, I do want to have some balance in my life. So if that means going backwards a little bit and just focusing on shit that actually works, like, that's kind of where my head's at. Yeah.
I feel like I went through the same trajectory, 10 years with my company, fighting and building and going, and a million things going on all at once. And then you just stop and go, okay, what's important? And I think that's important. That's an important learning experience for a business owner too. Is like, the measure of a good businessman isn't just how much you can do, like how much you can just constantly do. It's just like, how well can you manage the company? Sometimes through the highs and the lows. So
yeah, and I mean, I ask myself all the time, am I that person to get us to that extreme level that I want to take it, right? I don't know. I hope so. I know I have the vision for it, but I'm an open book. I'm honest, like vulnerable, like, hey, and I'm okay admitting like I'm far from perfect, right? But that's to your point about entrepreneurship. It's like you figure shit out every single day. But surrounding yourself with great people is like really what sets. We hear this all the time, right? Like, you just got to really, especially as you have more resources, to be able to bring in, more talent and more experienced people. Like, that helps a ton too.
Yeah. So I watched one of your videos. I watched a bunch of your videos, but I watched one in particular that really caught my attention. And you talked about the fact that you struggle. You wake up in the middle of the night thinking about work. Mm-hmm. This is another kind of just standard thing of a business owner. And you kind of talked about it, and the challenges of a business and the stress of a business owner. And you kind of finished that video with just trying to be grateful for what you have. Yeah. Like, tell us about, like, it feels like, and I feel like either I heard this or we talked about this, but like, as you get older, I think you're turning 40 here soon.
Yep.
Like, you're kind of reflecting a little bit on your life and on the business and what you want and what's valuable. Like, tell us a little bit about that, Drew.
Yeah, no, it is. I don't think anyone's ever going to truly understand entrepreneurship until you're in the seat. Everyone thinks, in my opinion, the perception is so glamorous, and like, we're all making billions of dollars and just living the dream, right? And don't get me wrong, like, I get to do this, so I really try to, even getting a recent tattoo, it's like, do your best, forget the rest. Like, in perspective, that's really all you could do. But I wake up often 3 or 4 in the morning where it's just like more of like ideas, or like, shit, I got to do this. I'm always behind. And like, that's really like, killed me lately, just because it's like, man, like I want to have more balance in life. So it's really creating those better systems and processes. But yeah, it's again, I've said it earlier, it's like a blessing and a curse. I'm wired to like never, you're never satisfied in a sense, right? Because you're also responsible for 25, 24 great humans, and like, the state's relying on you, and there's a lot of pressure there. But I think just mindset has really helped me just, get better every day of just like, again, if I ask myself where I'd want to be 10 years ago, I'd want to be in this exact seat. Mm-hmm. So I think we get in the trap of like, man, just like go, 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 go. And it's like nothing's ever good enough, or you're like focusing. I know I'm guilty of focusing on too much of the shit that's not working, right? Whether it's on the nonprofit side or the for-profit side. But like there is so much great momentum and so much, gratitude I have for our team, but also our community that continues to step up and support us. And the fact that I'm doing what I love, like that's all that really matters. But trying to go on a vacation and actually, disconnect, or, people, why don't you just go do this or that? I'm like, there's always,
I got stuff to do.
It's not like, and people delegate more. Like that's not the case. Like they delegate for whoever, but there's still responsibilities I have that no one else will ever have, that no one will ever truly understand. Right?
As the owner, man, you've created this brand, and there's a feel to the company. I've been in worked with a number of companies who had, were small coming up, and the feel definitely came right from the owner, right? The sense of the company. You may not even know the owner, but you just feel that it's like that's him, or that's her.
Yep.
And then they sell it, and it is a different company.
Yeah.
Or they become uninvolved, and it's a different company.
Yep.
And nowadays, there's so many companies out here, because it's so, I shouldn't say it's easy to start a business, but it's just much more common to start a business. But there's so many companies, trying to compete for just this little part of the market. And I think it's so important now that that owner stays engaged and keeps those values, because once if you gather an audience that likes that appreciates that, and then you bail,
oh yeah,
man, I don't know. I just, good corporate people can probably keep that business running and maybe make a profit out of it, but it's sad. It's a sad thing.
Yeah, and for me, it's always people over profit, right? And it's like, and I come from the hospitality background. I've always loved people, and I always learned in a case. I had some great leaders, growing up, but I also learned of leaders that I would not want to implement, in my business. So I think, to your point, it's like I love hearing that, because like every human that's a part of our organization, we go through an in-depth interview process, at least 3. It's like, you better love people, and you better want to work your ass off, because it's got to be that same vibe. Otherwise, like, yeah, it could tear apart, right? The vision, because I'm very involved still, but like I'm not in the office as much, or not, I'm allowing people to do their thing. But yeah, if you don't have those core values in place, and you don't have that same, leadership that's like in communication that's happening on a regular basis, that could easily, like, especially in our industry, because it's like retail, especially on the creative side, the disconnect sometimes in creative and business. It's like we want to design for ourselves, or we want to design, keep getting younger, but then you're alienate the audience that's actually always rocking with you, right? So it's you could quickly, like, your business could totally change if it's just looking at a P&L sometimes, right?
For sure.
Although it's very important.
Yes.
But I've had, even business leaders that I respect and partners that say, you should do this and that. I'm like, that's not who we are, right? And that's then we become someone, like, to your point, of every other business that's, is just cookie cutter. And I don't want to do that. I wanted to start a business to do things the right way, do business the right way, and treat people right. And like, I want to work with people like I actually have fun with too, and trust. And I don't want people coming to work thinking like this sucks, like, calling off like, 9 to 5, like, oh shit. Like, no, I want this to be an environment where people could thrive and like actually have fun and do cool shit.
Yeah. Then they're invested in the business too. It's not just a paycheck, right? They're not just punching the clock.
Yeah. And I always tell them, like, we need all of you. I don't care. Right. Like, retail is such an important position, whether you're on a nonprofit side, the finance side. Like, we need every single person to get us to that next level in a small business. And that's what's cool. And that's where I think bias, but I think is appealing for people. We have had several team members that left from Lululemon to come to State 48 because they just love our, even though great culture and everything, but just being a part of something that's really making an impact in our state. It's cool, the people that we've tracked. Even recently, we opened up board positions for our nonprofit, which supports local entrepreneurs. We had 35 incredible humans apply for 2 positions, and that's just a volunteer. And there's people from all different backgrounds and stuff. So we already have a board of 15. So that's what I take the most pride of, is just the love that people have for us and the impact that we are making through just products.
Yeah, well, you definitely you have that you tapped into that ability to connect with people that care for their state and their sports. And I think it seems to me like sports are really, I mean, that's what connects you a lot of times to the state, but that's what you guys have focused on too a lot. I see sometimes you're at local stuff doing a half marathon or a 10K or whatever, and sometimes you're at the Suns game, and sometimes you're at the Cardinals game, and ASU, and it doesn't matter. You're just all over the place, supporting your business, supporting these local things we do, and it seems to center around sports. It's kind of obvious. It seems to be the obvious way to go, but is there something more behind that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just again, being a fan of Arizona sports, and then growing up and get to know these people and athletes and realize, they're all just the same humans, right? But in my opinion, nothing ignites a community more than sports. I mean, we saw the Suns run a couple of years ago, and you got all these fair weather type of fans where you're getting together and just connecting, investing in the community, or the Diamondbacks World Series runs where it's 120 degrees outside, but you got people in downtown spending money at local bars, restaurants. That's the beauty of sports, bringing people together. And there's no better vibe than I remember even that D-backs game in the playoffs where they crushed 4 home runs in a row against the Dodgers, and man, that stadium was going wild, and it was just cool. So it's obviously much more than sports, because we've had formal partnerships with the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Suns, the Cardinals. That's been a really cool part, but it's so much more than sports for us, because that really helped kickstart our credibility in the community, working with Bruce Arians and the former Cardinals head coach, and working with his foundation, and then the Suns took notice, and the Mercury, and working on stuff with the Rattlers, and then it turned into Phoenix Children's Hospital and Dignity Health, and that's where collaborations part of the business was really built. So I'm obsessed with sports. A lot of people are, but it's obviously, even on our team, so much more than sports. I mean, I even had to educate a lot of people of what March Madness was this week, of when you're coming in store, make sure we're letting them know we are licensed with GCU and ASU and U of A. And it's something I love, and it's a lot of fun. That's a cool part of the job, until we lose, right?
Yeah, right. So before you started the business, you were a sports fan. You were an Arizona sports fan.
Yep. I mean, I got every Arizona tattoo there is. Got Pat Tillman on my.
I saw that video of you shooting hoops with Kevin Durant. Did you dunk on him?
I did not. No. Okay. I wish I could dunk. That
dude
was cool. The people that hate on KD is crazy, because that dude was so freaking nice. It's people say super humble. He made every shot. It was a Suns charity event that we got to go out and support. But yeah, man, just super normal, cool guy.
Yeah,
was dope.
Yeah, he's great. I think he gets a little bit of a bad rap because he's not out there defending himself so much,
or he defends himself too much sometimes,
or too much. Yeah, but hey, man, dude can play.
Yeah, yeah. I think we all forget, especially the more athletes or coaches I've got to know. We forget there's humans behind. When people are just popping off on Twitter or saying this or that. Imagine if you're in accounting and someone's like, "Hey, you're a piece of, this," right? That's just wild. We're all humans, and don't get me wrong, some deserve it, but no one's forcing a team to pay them $50 million, or whatever it is. Good for you. Sign me up.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. So you have an organization for entrepreneurs. I mean, you're probably plenty busy enough with your business, opening retail sites, and then you have this nonprofit that tries to help Arizona entrepreneurs. Why did you decide to do that?
Yeah, it's funny because this is probably one of my favorite parts of the organization is State 48 Foundation that supports local entrepreneurs. Again, organic fit because State 48 was born from entrepreneurship, $1,500, spare bedroom, not knowing what the hell we were doing for the most part, figuring out as we go. And then what we always realize, the more you invest in yourself and the right people, your business grows. Like there's no science, there's no coincidence to that. But like as soon as we started doing more collaborations and stuff, I've always wanted to be known for more than just selling t-shirts and hats. And like, how do we make a further impact? So, we get asked to, do all these different things, and it's hard. You spread yourself thin on the for-profit side if we're saying yes to donations and this and that. But I'm like, what's true to State 48? And we started with like a community impact event, like helping pack emergency food bags at like United Food Bank. It was so cool. And like, there's something powerful about being in the community and just like making a difference. So we're like, hey, let's start. Alyssa Moore, who came on board to help us with that community impact, she had nonprofit experience. And I'm like, me again, I'm more of a visionary, not someone who executes. And I'm like, let's start a nonprofit that supports all local entrepreneurs. And I'm just so proud of where it is today, 5 years into it. Like have so much more respect even for anyone in the nonprofit space, because that is hard. Like it is. I underestimate how much time and money goes into that. I mean, we've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into our own nonprofit to make sure we can help make a difference. And finally, it's coming to a place with the support of our partners and our license plate, that it can, sooner than later focus more on the programming side, which we provide, free programming, events, educational resources, like cool stuff that people want to be a part of. We bring other leaders in the community together and just pay it forward, provide practical tips, resources, tell their story. And then we bring all these aspiring entrepreneurs into a room, and they get to learn from people that they never would have learned from, and doing it the right way. And then we have grant funding available after Entrepreneur Speaker Series. So I know that was a lot, but like that's what I get excited about. I even love going to our events and just learning from these different, leaders in Arizona.
So you're basically hiring, or at least bringing in other like entrepreneurs to teach classes and to do events so that other, aspiring entrepreneurs can.
Yeah, great question. So we have 3 paid team members on the nonprofit side: executive director, program support manager, and then events coordinator. And so they're our team for the nonprofit side. Then we have a board of directors, all volunteer positions of 15. So we have an army, doing this. But then everything that we do is free for anyone to join us, and any leader that comes and provides, their stories and stuff, that's all volunteer. So we just utilize our network to say, hey, Eric, with the Fiesta Bowl, can you come, talk about mentorship? Or even like Luis Gonzalez, a friend, like he came to our last Beyond Business event and talked about why mentorship matters, right? So we just talk about different topics of business, whether it's marketing, legal. If we can help people, not make the same mistakes we did, then you're ultimately helping create jobs in Arizona, helping people become more sustainable. And there's no strings attached. Like, hey, we just want to make Arizona a dope place to work and live. So
how do you fund it? I mean, you said you put hundreds of thousands of dollars into it, but if you've got full-time employees, where's the money come from?
No, so now we have a couple of different ways. So we have great partners, even like 1AZ Credit Union, Gila River. I mean, there's so many partners that come in as like annual partners, put their dollars behind us, or, events. Like we have a big charity poker tournament coming up on April 5th at the Player 15 group. It's so cool. It's all proceeds benefit State 48 Foundation. We did a 5K with Girl Scouts. So we do that part of proceeds benefited State 48 Foundation. So it's a lot of partners. Our license plate has been around for over a year now. And it's our plate, State 48 specialty plate, but all proceeds benefit State 48 Foundation. So that will end up becoming like reoccurring revenue. That will be super helpful for the foundation. So it's a mixture of great organizations, people. We were at one point to get really kickstarted. We were donating like $1 per collaboration shirt that anyone did with us. So yeah, we had all kind of variety. We've done tattoo fundraisers. We try to make sure we don't cookie cutter, and we want to do things that people actually want to be at, including myself, right? So, the cool thing is we're open to doing anything that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, dude. So who's your favorite Arizona athlete of all time? Not just now, of all time.
I mean, I have to go Luis Gonzalez.
Really?
Yeah. Just because selfishly become friends with him too, but just like the most humble guy, and like the guy, since he brought a championship to the desert, like I gotta go Luis Gonzalez. But there's so many. Adrian Wilson,
What a great name. That's a one from the past.
Legend. He's a great friend of mine too.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's what's so cool. It's like, used to sit in the stands watching A-Dub play, and then him becoming a great friend. Like, he's a savage. Like,
he was a savage.
Yeah, he just crushed people.
He would.
Those are probably
he was fun to watch
too.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just so many great ones. Steve Nash. How can you forget about him, right? But you can go on and on.
Remember, so I grew up in the time where I watched the Suns as a kid, and that was back when Barkley and KJ.
Barkley, I freaking love that guy. He just says whatever the hell he wants.
I know, and
hilarious.
I love that too. But you remember some of like the second tier guys from that, like Cedric Sabalos, and Richard Dumas, and Oliver Miller, and
Stephen Hunter is going to be apparently at our charity poker tournament too. I mean, another role player that made a difference. But said that blindfolded dunk was epic.
He was so awesome.
Marley, Thunder Dan,
Marley, that's right. Remember the good old Hornacek?
Oh yeah,
the old
KJ, that dunk, that was incredible.
Over Olajuwon.
Yeah, I mean the Cardinals. I'm like probably like my number one team is the Cardinals. I mean, if I had to choose one, right, just because they're so always the underdog, right? But I remember that Kurt Warner. I mean, how can you not love on Kurt Warner or Bolden or Fitz and Dub? I mean, Darnell Dockett. I mean, that was such a team that really got us to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Fitzgerald, man, what a rare he's such a rare athlete. Like he could have easily been the highest paid receiver in the league and left, and literally any team would have said, "Oh yeah, we'll take him." We just stayed loyal to Arizona, man. I felt so bad for him. I'm like, dude, this guy's gonna retire without a ring, man, because they're not gonna.
But when you think about it, most people retire without a ring, right?
Yeah,
so,
but he
could have.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Dan Marino, right? He retired without a ring, and he's widely considered one of the greatest ever.
Yeah.
Oh man, but I like Dan Marino. Okay, whatever.
But he's not the greatest ever because he doesn't have a ring.
Yeah,
he will. He can't be considered the greatest.
But I just feel bad for Fisk because I'm like, dude, when you look at his stats, he's got more like blocks than dropped passes.
Oh yeah, it was insane.
What?
Plus, with all due respect, the caliber of quarterbacks he played with throughout his career, and he still pulled the numbers he did.
Yeah,
and
Kurt Warner's the only one that's really just legendary.
He had Carson Palmer too.
Yeah,
Carson
was
awesome.
great. He was awesome, and he's a great guy for Arizona too. But he's not playing with a Patrick Mahomes. He's not playing with a Tom Brady, and he's
there was that one time we went off after that guy, and we got that great quarterback. I think his name was like Cobb or something like that. Remember him?
Yeah,
he turned out.
Yeah. That guy was a stud. Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, he had one good game in Philadelphia, I think, and they were like, "Oh, let's go get him. Let's spend all kinds of money."
Derek Anderson. We've had some guys, but Fitzgerald, for the locker room and for the state, everything he did, out in the community, just an absolute stud, start to finish, top to bottom.
Well, he led by example too. I mean, now I think Booker's following in those same steps of hey, I want to start my career in Arizona. I want to end my career in Arizona. I think that Diana Taurasi. I mean, I think that's some cool things to say of hey, I'm loyal, and I feel like that's how I'd be if I was in sports. But I'm sure it could quickly turn you the other way of just how savage it can be in sports. And I heard a fun fact that Fitz never spent not $1 of his actually contract money, and he just lived off of his advertisements and advertisement deals and stuff, and his business. Mine is just he's crushing it.
Yeah, there's a couple guys like that. With Fitzgerald, you go, I could see that. But then they say Gronkowski did the same thing. I'm like, Gronk?
Yeah. And Shaq's killing it.
Oh,
Shaq.
Marshawn Lynch, same thing. I'm like, these guys don't strike me as a Fitzgerald strikes you as the kind of guy that walks into a room, he can talk business. Not that those other guys can't, obviously. But I'm like, dang, dude, you're telling me that Gronk only lived off of endorsements? As much as that guy
Which is not hard if you put in perspective of hey, if you're all set up and they earn it, right? But if I've set up with making millions of dollars, I think I could get by with that.
Yeah.
I would say another one, Devon Kennard, has become a great friend too. He was a local guy, played at Desert Vista in high school, but then got drafted to Giants, but then he ended up finishing his career with the Cardinals for a little bit, and that dude's sharp as hell. He spoke at our entrepreneurs or our Beyond Business events. He's a real estate legend, but he's just someone you want to talk about business all day with. But great dude.
You ever get involved with any of the high schools?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always a big favorite of Chandler High, where I went to school. Yeah. But we work with so many different schools in the Valley in Arizona. Elementary school is the #1 industry we worked with actually the year prior, of just on collaborations, because people care where they work and they go to school. But like, they don't have creative departments. How could we like make a cool shirt that they use for fundraising? But yeah, we want to get even more involved with high school sports, because it also allows us to stay younger too, right? And create loyal supporters,
Yes.
but while also doing the good work. But yeah, we work with a lot of different schools.
Any aspirations of doing like jerseys, or do you have jerseys like, with your logo on it? Like, I know going a little bit crazy here, but Nike's got contracts with Oregon. Any ideas of you guys like kind of partnering with schools and having your logo displayed and maybe giving back in that way? Or
Yeah, I mean on a even a bigger scale, and we've now done made a couple jokes on social now of like State 48 is becoming like the Suns arena partner. We just called it State 48 Arena. We did like an April Fool's joke a couple years ago, and then we just recently did it again once they were changing out from Footprint to PHX. And people, it's just cool to see that like, people actually like really bought. I mean, there was hundreds of comments. People bought into it. Also, they don't not realizing that shit costs like millions of dollars.
It only takes a couple bucks. Yeah.
But to answer your question, I would love for it to be a State 48, city edition of their jersey, like the Suns have, and just have a State 48 or and any jersey, cool. Or become do so well that you could become a partner like that. That would be hopes and dreams. We've done like jerseys of our own. Nothing's really ever like took off, but we're always venturing into like different products and things, and we just keep getting better every day, especially with product development and having more sourcing relationships that we can do cool stuff. The future is bright and exciting.
Good. You had mentioned there's all kinds of other companies doing with now the brand name State 48.
Yeah.
Has that caused problems?
I would say with the brewery, but it's really the only one.
Oh, really?
Just because. And a lot of times people just think we're a much bigger organization than we are, which is fine, cool. But like sometimes they can, infringe on marks or whatever. But
were they selling your shirts at one time?
Yeah, so like where we have it protected, State 48 is when you're in the apparel space. So if you're a State 48 brewery or any other organization, you're putting State 48 on merch, that's when you're infringing on our marks. So it's nothing major. I mean, there's always going to be confusion, even between State 48 and State 48 Foundation. So it's like we really just try to focus on what we can control, rather than spending all this money on trying to, legally protect in some cases, because people knock off our websites. We get things all the time, and it's like it's very frustrating that people put that time and energy into like doing shit illegal, right? It's just like, but you put that time and energy into something that could actually be worthwhile. But so you go through that all the time, but we have counsel to help us, but we try not to focus too much on it, because that can really put you down a whole nother rabbit hole.
It takes you down a whole track. Yeah. But I think you think about, so State 48, Arizona's the 48th state. Like for them, they probably saw, I don't know when they started
after us.
So they probably see that being successful, and they're like, oh, State 48, nobody can patent that. Well, in your space, we got the apparel rights, and you may have maybe you got 15 breweries and you have the restaurant, license, but I don't know if it's, they probably just look and saw, hey man, this thing's taking off.
Piggyback off that.
I think it's awesome, honestly. Like, it's, and even they're not, any of these organizations aren't doing anything wrong. They have all their stuff protected. Just anytime you come into the apparel space, then you're infringing in our mark. So we don't have major issues with there. But I just think it's cool that people actually care about Arizona. Like, again, we were the first company to ever trademark State 48. Now we got lucky with the name. We got lucky with the logo. And here we are today. And I think I look at it as just a positive thing that like more people care about our economy and the people around it. So I don't lose sleep about that kind of stuff. No.
You clearly have a lot of gratitude. You can just see it oozing out of you. I watched a bunch of your videos. You get on there and you can tell that you're trying to just be gracious, not focusing on the negative, but focusing on the positive things. So what you just said there is part of that. Some other things that I've heard you say are part of that. Just getting on there and being thankful, saying, hey, I love you, our customers.
Yep.
Is that something that comes natural, or do you have to work at that?
Yeah, it's definitely natural. I'm an open book.
person.
I'm authentic. Like, and that's why I think people love and respect our brand, because like that's what we try to show even before it became trendy, to show more faces behind organization. Like, we are what we are. Like, I don't know everything. You know, I need help like every day, right? Like, but I what I can control and what I've since a little kid, and that's probably kudos to my parents, especially my mom, is just loving, like, you could control that experience. That's why I always love the hotel industry. Like, someone comes in from a shitty day, traveling, you know, all day and missing their family. Like, you could control that and provide a great experience. We're all in the people business, and that's where I genuinely like get to do what I love every day, because our community rocks with us, right? Mm-hmm. That's not, you know, you could have the greatest team in the world, but if your community's not supporting you, so yeah, why wouldn't you pour it forward too? Even like, you go deeper and you say, you know, all these businesses are always looking to acquire new customers, which is important. I get that, but like, I don't think businesses do enough of like actually pouring it into their existing community, whether that's deals or just appreciation. It's always new. I think that's our world, right? What's the next best thing, whether that's a relationship or a product or whatever. And it's just like, we take a lot of pride in just like retention. How do we get someone, you know, supporting us 5 times a year rather than 1 time a year? So yeah, to answer your question, like, there's no BS from me. There's no politics from me. It's like, I am what I am. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think people respect a lot about myself or the organization.
If you've been in business long enough, and you've had to deal with people that are adversarial in some way or another, employees, whatever. Sometimes that can really get business owners down if you have enough of those. But how do you handle that? Like, when you go into a position, because you're clearly somebody that tries to give a lot of gratitude and you try to care about people, but there are people who don't reciprocate that, let's say an employee or somebody close. How do you handle that? Do you handle that pretty well, or
no? I'm not at all. Sometimes, like, I think even to be honest, like, the last couple of years have been very challenging as we grow the business. Even having to, you know, part ways from friends that come into the organization that maybe that you recruited. You know, business is business. I hate that part of it. Like, I've lost friends because of business. Like, I hate that shit. Yeah. And I also find myself like, in a way, like I'm about to turn 40, becoming the grumpy old man sometimes of like. Having less patience sometimes, or like, you know, just, hey, not as much as I like to pour it in as like for gratitude. If I don't receive that, in a sense, like, I take it personal in some ways, like, you know, what I've been working on, but like nothing you can't ever expect someone to work as hard as you, and when it's your own business, or care as much. And I'm not saying our team doesn't, but little things of just like, I don't know, you just have to like separate yourselves more and more, which that's the part that kind of sucks, is because like when we first started, you're just having such a small, tight group, and you're going to, you know, out after, you know, work, or, you know, the more you grow, and you always have to separate that, which is tough for me because I'm such a people person. But I don't know if I've answered your question, but yeah, it's a daily like struggle sometimes of just like separating, like making sure I'm in preaching, you know, as much as I preach about gratitude and like, you know, leading by example, I also have to do that with our team too. But I'm also a human, and, you know, and leadership could be lonely, right? Where you're dealing with things that not everyone's gonna be privileged to know, or the stress levels of working sometimes till 1 o'clock in the morning. Again, you can't expect your team to like, you know, respectfully care about that, right? That's not their role, but sometimes you're just so close to it in small business that like it could kind of bum you out sometimes, or like drive you nuts. But I'm getting better and better every day of not doing that. But I think the separation of like, unfortunately, like friendships and stuff at work kind of has to happen.
Yeah. Do you find it hard when there is a situation in which you have to kind of put your foot down? Do you find it hard to do that?
No, not at all anymore. I think like, especially the older you come, like, I owe everyone as much as honesty as possible. Mm-hmm. I'm a big believer, like, if you do have to, you know, separate ties or whatever, like, it should never be a surprise. Or if you're, you know, I think there should be always an open, honest conversation. And I think just being direct, but coming from a place of love, is like, what everyone, whether you're an athlete or you're a team member or whatever, will respect so much. Maybe not right now, but 6 months down the road or 3 weeks down the road, like you can go get lunch, right? So, I just have in the past that was very uncomfortable, having those like uncomfortable conversations, right? But like you're not doing yourself any favors by like prolonging it or beating around the bush, and it's just more of like, again, coming from a place of love of like, this is what I expect, and just having clear expectations, I think solves a lot of problems.
Yeah, I think it's a hard thing. Part of it's personality, but part of it's being a business owner. One of the hard things is realizing that the best way that you can treat somebody is sometimes the most direct, honest way, honest thing to do. Sometimes you feel like, and I think a lot of people are like this, that, kind of ignore the problem, it'll go away. That always makes things worse. And that's hard. It's easy to do when you're somebody who doesn't like confrontation, let's say, or is uncomfortable with confrontation. There's people out there that can do like what you're saying. I don't know if this is learned for you, if it's just something that comes
Definitely
natural,
learned,
but like, it's learned. Okay.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I'll see Gary Vee pop up, and he seems to be very good at that. Like he seems to be a pretty gracious guy, pretty honest and pretty caring guy, but he's like, you just be right, honest up front as fast as you can. It's going to hurt, but do it, move forward, and that's makes everybody.
Yeah, and I think on the other side too is where I've gained respect is like, I want the same, to me, right? If I'm failing you or if I'm not doing something right, like I want you to have that open, honest conversation, and I'm not going to, hopefully take it personal, just like I wouldn't want that person to take it personal. It is just business, right? But it's definitely a learned skill over the years, and that's where I'm grateful of being a young manager in the hotel industry and like having, even doing reviews, or you beat around the bush and you're not fully honest because you don't want confrontation, right?
Yeah.
Even in early State 48 days, but like that's always going to come back to hurt you. And I'll say, even being when I was part of this Vistage group, was a CEO coaching group, you always, it's a great, such a great, group of individuals that you could share, honest, things happening in the life of a CEO, right? But I think that what always stood out is like you hear these, ongoing issues that everyone's having, and then it won't go away until you address it. So it's like only going to hurt your business. And that's where another thing I think of, like when people just like get in the trap of hiring warm bodies, and because, oh shit, like we're short, or we, especially in the restaurant industry, I need someone. But if you hire the wrong person, that could really set you back even that much further. So, I think all we could control in life a lot of times is just how you treat people and having honest conversations. So I'm still learning from it, but definitely take a lot more pride in my growth there.
Broad question, but any piece of advice for, let's say, a young entrepreneur, like what's the top of your list, at the top of the pyramid? What this one piece of advice?
Yeah. It's always a couple things of like, you better love what you do. What problem are you solving? And you better be ready to work. And that's where like we take a lot of pride in, like with State 48 Foundation, is like not sugarcoating anything. Like we want people telling their real stories of like, this shit is hard. Even if it's 10 years into your business or 50, sometimes like a lot of times it gets harder, right? But understanding that, sure, if you got it figured out, if you start a business and you're making millions of dollars right away and you don't have any stress, like kudos to you. But I just think we got to eliminate the perception a lot of times of like this entrepreneur journey is so sexy and it's like the thing that's like the thing to do, which don't get me wrong, I wouldn't change it for the world. But like, again, I love what I'm doing. I solved a problem. I'm up for it. I have an old school work ethic where I'm going to figure it out. And if you feel like this is just going to be an easy path, like this isn't for you, right? So I think it's just really understanding why you want to do this and like what's your kind of long-term play.
I think, when you talk about that, that the challenges that come with entrepreneurship, when you look back on them, and even in the moment as you get more experience, you realize those challenges are some of the best moments. And you live for those challenges. Some of the hardest times, first of all, you learn from them. Like, what's life about if you're not learning to get better, right? So sometimes you don't want them back to back to back and all the time because they can be stressful and cause problems. But when you look back in hindsight, those are some of the best times you have. And so like that's something I think that maybe not everybody's prepared for that or wants to do that, but I think that's something maybe to relay as well. Like, yeah, you're going to go through some hard times, but they're going to be the best times.
Yeah, no, yeah, just respecting and appreciating the journey, which is sometimes hard to do, right?
Yeah.
Like when I said earlier, it's like if I asked myself where I'd want to be when we started this company, it'd be exactly right here. Sure, maybe further along, but like I am here for a reason, and like the things I get to do is like so freaking cool. So like, but sometimes like the tedious part of business and the stress of business like takes that, happiness away, which sucks sometimes, but like that's why, man, our minds are so important to get right, of like feeding it the right things, of like just like finding that right pod or being right around the people. I mean, that's, advice I, sign off on all day more than anything now. You guys probably could relate to that. It's like the older we get, the smaller your circle shrink. And like, it doesn't mean anything negative about anyone that was in my life, but like we all have limited time. It is so important to be around people that inspire you, that like you can learn from, that motivate you, all that. Cause like you need that, like it's like we always need to be learning. And I said in a sales meeting yesterday, is like what the coolest part is, what you think is hard now, 6 months from now, you're gonna be like, oh, that's easy. And I've accomplished that. I've learned. I'm on to the next thing. And I think that's every day in life for all of us, that we're just like, oh, okay. But if we don't tackle that or get uncomfortable and like really like put ourselves out there to have uncomfortable conversations, or put ourselves in a group that maybe, even go into my coaching group, I was with around CEOs that have much bigger businesses than I ever had. I felt intimidated at the beginning, but I'm like, oh, these are my great friends now. Like I'm adding value to them. Like always just being yourself. Like that's, I think, something we always forget. Yeah. Like we all have this super power within ourselves of like who we are. And I think we hold back on that sometimes, of like, we think this is just normal, to whether it's self-awareness or like whatever skill set it is, like you need to put it out there and go all in on that.
I think sometimes you can get trapped in thinking like success is the amount of money you make, or how big your company is, or like there's all kinds of little weird metrics like that. How much your brand impact is probably something valuable. But I think the more I've gone through the journey, the more it's like less about, how big of a company I can create or how much money. It's more about like you. That's like looking outward. It becomes more about looking inward then. Like, Amen. I don't really, you get to a point where like, I don't care. Like I've never been motivated by money, but money is a metric, right? Yeah. It's a metric to show you how good you're doing.
It allows you to do things you want to do too.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, that inward looking like posture seems to be, if you can embrace it, it feels good. Like if my company's not as big as my competitors, who cares? As long as, the people, the relationships that I'm building, and the people that I'm surrounded myself with, and then my business is a good, solid, good reputation business. Those are the things that matter.
Yeah. And one thing I love that you just brought up that I would also lend my advice to is like, we got to stop comparing ourselves and our businesses to others. Like, that we do this every day, and I'm not saying it's easy, but like, my journey, my retail lifestyle brand journey is much different than, a tech company journey or whatever. But we look on or social media and we look at, what this person looks like or what they're accomplishing. And it's like, you got to just be happy within first. Right. And I love too, cause I'm going through that right now of like, I always thought like big. And like, don't get me wrong, I still have very high hopes and vision for our company, but like where I'm excited is like we can grow significantly, double, triple our business without actually bringing on more people and bringing on more infrastructure. That's what's been challenging the last couple of years, is really bringing in the right team and like setting us up for success. And now we can really scale this thing without providing more of the stress. Now it should start to really pay off and become more fruitful, right? But yeah, it's just like, that's more exciting than ever for me, of like less is more, like time in my life. Like I want to be able to like go for 4 days, not that I can't, but like, and have freedom in my mind of just like, I want to set our business up for more success and more sustainability, scalability. And that's what ultimately will bring me more happiness. So like, but so I think we all can relate, is just like, you got to go through life to really figure out what you really want until you've become wiser. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely a journey of wisdom. I remember, you're 30 years old, you think you know it all, and then and you're 40 and you're like, look back, I didn't know anything, but I know it all now that I'm 40.
Yeah.
You know? And then you just get wise enough to go, well, probably we'll never know a whole lot. But, you know, I think what it comes down to is being happy on the journey. And I never would have, I don't think I ever would have uttered those words. Not that it wasn't somewhere deep inside, but I think it was more about, let's just grow the biggest company. Not because I'm really motivated by money, but because I want to be successful. You know, I was driven by success, wanting, competitive edge, So, yeah.
Well, I think one thing that's always stood out to me, I forget the dude's name that I listen to on a podcast sometimes, but everyone has their own rich life. Like if that means, spending a lot of discretionary income money on products or, hotels or family time, family experiences or, building, homes or whatever the heck that is. It doesn't even have to be like, tangible, but like everyone has their own rich life and like you got to find whatever the hell makes you happy and like go all in on that. Yeah. So I think a lot of times, again, that comparison, society we live on is like, what is this person doing? Was it like, figure out even relationships. Always people joke like, I've never been married, single for a long time. Like, what's wrong with you? It's like, actually, no, I think like I have good advice to provide of like, unless you find like that best friend or whoever, like I'm good. I'm happy inside. I'm happy like grinding and I get to do what I love, like, and have freedom. Like that makes me happy. That might not make the next person happy, but like, we got to be honest with ourselves of like, what the hell makes us tick.
I think you can just run a simple simulation and go, okay, I can run a business and let's just say I'm getting by, but I'm loving every day. I wake up every day eager to go to work.
That's all that matters.
I've got $100 million in the bank, but I hate my job. Every single day I go to work, I dread it. So what would you rather have? I mean, it's not even a question for me and most people. I just want to. Ultimately, I don't want to go to work every day. Somewhere in between would be great. But I think you can run simple thought experiments like that and go, okay, well, what are my priorities? What do I really want? And of course, money, you have to have money to stay in business, and so you got to make it and you got to figure out a way to do it. You can't be you can't just love everything, love and light and not make any money because you're not going to be doing that for very long. But yeah, I mean, I think,
And even when I say people over profit, like, yes, in a sense that, makes sense and it's who. But there comes to a point where like you got to make sure you're set up for success, right? So, and people are motivated by money too. So how do you grow this business to give people these opportunities to do it? So I'm such a I like to call myself a giver, right? In the sense of like I'm sacrificing a lot. I've sacrificed a lot in my life I don't have to have a team of 24. We could have been lean and mean too, and like been selfish in a sense, if that is even the correct way to say it, but like I really do care about creating jobs and like doing cool shit in Arizona, and we need help of everyone. So yeah, it's I think to your point, it's just figuring out what makes you happy.
So that's an interesting. You said that a couple times. I'm not sure if it was on social media, but you said you want to create jobs for Arizona. When I think about that, I go, I don't even know how. I mean, because when you think of a job creation metric, you think of that being like a kind of a government job, like, oh yeah, jobs is up and jobs. How do you quantify that? And how do you feel like you've accomplished that? Yeah.
So which is cool is like having these entrepreneurs that are becoming a part of our community at State 48 Foundation. And they continue to stay with us and learn. And now, again, they're growing. To see them grow, and that's not just because of State 48 Foundation, but they are a part of our community that doing it the right way. And that's what I mean by like creating jobs. Like you see these other small businesses and entrepreneurs like learn things that we didn't know early on. And now you've like actually grown quicker and create jobs. And you're also creating jobs of like what you want to do, right? I think after the pandemic, during the pandemic, whatever, people really realized like what was super important to them of like, hey, do I really want to go through life sometimes like just, miserable and working 9 to 5 or whatever. And then nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But I think that's where the entrepreneur like, craze came. And, but I think it's just like how do these people pursue their passion and maybe purpose in life? they might have the great ideas, but how are they going to get there? And that's where we take a lot of pride in, like, using our network, because we're around a lot of big businesses, small businesses. Again, I provide this incredible, like, information. Hey, you should just consider this person for tax. Are you even considering your tax planning? Like, do you have any strategy there? Like, there's all these nuggets that you could pull. So that's what I mean by, like, just helping be a part of, like, helping create jobs in Arizona.
Yeah. It's interesting that it's an interesting, I don't know, like an interesting vision, you know, because most people, like, they're focused on creating jobs for their company, or they're creating something for their company. And it could, and it's good things too, like, care about your people and all this stuff. But to have a vision of doing more for the state as a company is very rare. I don't know if I've ever heard this before.
Well, I think, again, if you work with communities that do business the right way and it's no strings attached, like, we all benefit off that, right? More people are printing shirts, more people are ordering, meal prep, like, whatever it might be. Again, if you're good freaking people, like, that's generally just going to come back to you. And that's ultimately what jacks me up. It gets me excited about, like, if we can help these entrepreneurs, like, pursue things that I've benefited from. If you can, like, learn these tips and resources and get connected with the people you never would have been connected with, and you can go now grow your business to where you want it to be, like, that's freaking cool, right? But then you're making an impact in the economy, and it's actually diversifying, like, Arizona even that much more of, like, I mean, we know early on it was contracting and it was, whatever else it was. Like, we've come so far in, like, the different industries that are here in Arizona. And we serve a wide audience, even a lot of women, that's our bulk of our audience too, women business owners, right? So, like, that's really cool to see. So just giving people the platform and the space to, like, be themselves and, like, do cool stuff.
Well, Arizona's growing, that's for sure. It's been growing since the 60s or 70s, and it still is growing. It's one of the top growing states in the nation. We have TSMC coming in.
Yep.
I mean, they're just coming in right here.
Yep.
That's going to bring a ton of people. It's going to bring new industries.
Yep.
So we're not really, at least in the West Valley, we're not super known. Well, we're not known at all for semiconductors here in the Valley at all.
That's been heavy in the East Valley.
Yeah. And so I hear it's going to be bringing engineering and all kinds of, kind of engineering jobs, new engineering firms, which will change the whole dynamic of Arizona and how the job market is.
I mean, the people we're attracting. I mean, I read recently in the Phoenix Business Journal that, like, the most popular, the luxury real estate market is what's thriving in Arizona, and whatever that's relative to. But I mean, that's wild to think of. I mean, it's just really cool.
Yeah. Okay, so you have an event coming up April 5th.
Yeah, it's actually my 40th birthday too.
It's your 40th?
Yeah.
Was that a coincidence?
It wasn't. No, but I'm like, I guess I'll be having a party there too.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about it as we kind of close this off. Tell us about that. Maybe some of the listeners will. Is it open to the public?
Yeah, absolutely. So betonarizona.org. It's our 4th charity poker tournament casino night. It was always at Earnhardt Lexus. They were so grateful. They've been awesome partners, and they've always hosted us there. But this year it's going to be at the Player 15 Group, which is the headquarters of the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Mercury. So really exclusive, like, opportunity that not anyone could just go to. We have serious poker players. Again, all funds raised will benefit State 48 Foundation. But we have casino nights. We're going to have a pickleball. We're going to have bar. All kinds of cool stuff where it's just when any event, we hope that you come to support State 48 or State 48 Foundation. It's like, be you. We'll do cool stuff. It's something you want to be a part of, right? And you don't even care about poker or casino nights. I mean, even the last few years, like, people playing blackjack like they're playing for, like, millions of dollars. But it's just a really cool event. We got the Arizona Lottery there. We got all these different vendors. Lifetime Leather, I think, will be there. Really cool company based in Queen Creek that built, like, a 10,000 square foot facility and really focused on craftsmanship. But yeah, all funds will raise. That are raised will help us give out grant funding to these local entrepreneurs that I've been talking about, and put on the events that we put on, because all our events are free. It's easy access to anyone, and We've given out $140,000 in grant funding from the foundation side and over the years, and we plan to give out at least another 50 this year. So the more money we can continue to raise, the more we're going to pour it into our community.
Cool. Mike, you're an inspirational figure for sure. The fact that you love people as much as you do and you care and you have so much gratitude, it's awesome. It's been great to meet you and to get to know you a little bit here. You have an awesome company.
Thank you.
Had a pretty brilliant, slide into the State 48 and to capture people from Arizona who call Arizona home, capture that kind of that fascination with Arizona and the sport. So good for you, man. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, appreciate all the kind words. It's awesome. Always great to meet new people. So thank you for the invite.
Yeah, brother.
All right, thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. See ya. If you guys haven't already, it would be such an honor if you would hit that subscribe button and then go through our videos, like them, comment on them, and then share them. One of the best places to share is directly to Facebook. So if you have a Facebook account, share our podcasts. We'd be greatly appreciated. And we work really hard to make sure that we get the best content to you guys. Also, don't forget to turn on notifications. Those will ensure that you never miss an episode. Again, we're working hard to make sure that the guests that we bring on are top quality, that there's no mainstream BS, but that we bring you truth and honesty in every episode. Thank you guys again, and we'll see you next week.